So finally, we are at the last session of the namesake. We are just going to have a brief discussion on chapter 12. That is the conclusion, the last chapter of book. And it is an interesting book. And if you see the amount of the passage of time it covers from Ashuma's youth, Ashuma and Ashok's young age to Ashok's death and Ashuma. Here we see her kind of taking a retirement, and also there is a sense of continuity. So it is a novel about the trajectory, the life process, the kind of, it's a process of being or becoming diasporic, right? So diaspora is not a condition, it is a process, right? It is a process of being diasporic, how you slowly become, uh, leave the home, the feeling of exile to the feeling of being liminal, as Ashima says, permanently pregnant, and later on to being accepting, reconciling to this hybrid identity that we see in Gogol and Sonia. So the book has been how being diasporic is an ongoing, it is an ongoing process. So let's quickly discuss chapter 12. So once again, I'm not really going to go to the book. I'm going to stay with these points and I'm going to talk, right? So again, I mentioned earlier on, there are patterns of narrative repetition. So Ashok's accident, Gogol's brush with an accident at the end of chapter 5, a return. So Ashok, chapter 1 starting with Ashima trying to create Indian flavors in America. Chapter 7, the beginning of chapter 7, again, Ashima and her life now alone. All the members of the family have gone away. Husband is working elsewhere. So her life, again, we see her life now years later in America. She's more confident. She has accepted being on her own. She's independent. Here again, we see Ashima, right? So another chapter which begins with an echo of the first chapter. It begins echoing the first chapter. Ashima, once again, she cooks for the friends who are going to come, right? So she's cooking for them. She showers. She waits for the children and the friends. We are made aware of the passage of time. There is a sense of time that has gone by. There is an intense feeling of nostalgia. We see that Ashima has changed, she has grown. We also get some of the glimpse of her relationship with Ashok, which has been missing throughout the novel. Right? We never see them together, their intimate relationship. But here we see personal relationship. We see what a deeply personal relationship they share in these memories of that she has. She realizes that although she will be happy to spend more time in Calcutta, she now considers Pemberton Road, the house where she has lived, where the children have grown up. She has lived there for 30 years. Now, this is home. In her retirement, after retirement, she has decided to divide her time between Calcutta and America, spending a part of the year home in Calcutta and part of the year here in America. So her journey kind of continues. She's still trying to straddle two continents, two homes, right? A home where she was born and the home that she has made. But yeah, at the Pemberton Road, it is here that she and Ashoka made a life for themselves. They raised a family. Ashima worries that the new family, the Walkers who are coming to buy the house, they will change the floor plan. So this shows her concern, a sense of belonging to this house, to this country. Then we shift to Gogol, who rides home again in a train. So the train again, the end train comes back. So the journey to the train journey, the journey in the train. Again, he's aware that his father will no longer be there waiting for him. Ashok, though he's dead, he casts a big shadow in this chapter. Their lives are deeply intertwined with that of Ashok. His memories and his presence permeates the end although he himself is no longer there. We also learn about another momentous event that happened during the train ride, and that was the death of. Interestingly, Ashima is has accepted that divorce and the end of the marriage. So it shows how, how her own marriage, how her complete absorption into her marriage. Now she has also changed, and she can accept her son's divorce. Now, this celebration where everyone is gathering together is Christmas. They put up a tree, they take pictures, and it shows again how far the family has come in making a new home, not just in the house and on Pemberton Road, but also embracing a new culture. We also hear about Sonia and Ben. And I think this is a weakness in this novel, that spends so much time highlighting unsuccessful cross cultural relationships and also the failure of Gogol's marriage, that we do not see much of Sonia and Ben and their seemingly successful relationship, since Ben seems to be a part of the family. He comes to celebrate Christmas with his in Bengali Indian family, and he is not an Indian. So we do not really get a glimpse of how we see why it cannot be reconciled, or what are the differences and how cultural differences kind of intervene and break the relationships. We do not see how Ben and Sonia successfully navigate through cultural difference. But then again, it is Ashima's story and Gogol's story. We do not really know what is Sonia's story. So the story ends with Gogol finally picking up the book, the collected works of Nikolai Gogol, beginning to read the collected works of Nikolai Gogol. And so, as we close the book, Gogol begins his journey into the past, his father, getting to know his father. We see a lot of old themes and symbols come back. Lahiri uses this to emphasize the cyclicality of life. We also see the contrast between two generations in their future they decide for themselves. Ashima is a person who belongs to two places. She's torn between two homes, and she's going to spend time between the two homes. While Gogol, as second generation, feels displaced in both. He's neither home in India nor in completely in America. So this sense of alienation or sense of discomfort is something that is familiar to the second generation, and they have to navigate through this. Now, the end is in a way bittersweet. There is a lot of nostalgia. We leave kind of midway. We don't know what happens to Gogol, to Sonia and Ben. We don't know whether Ashima is able to divide her time. We don't know whether she's comfortable when she goes back to India, because clearly India is not the same place that she had left. The members of the family, the mother, the parents are dead. So, would she be able to find home in India? Because the home has changed. So, it is an open end that emphasizes that life continues. It does not end. There is no permanent resolution to this condition of being diasporic, that it is a continuous process of negotiation. It's a continuous process of adapting, changing, and so on. It does not end with retirement. It does not end with the death of the husband. It does not end with the divorce. It's a continuous process. So, though the novel ends, the world of immigrant families continues with its dilemmas, its negotiations, its failures, as well as its successes. So, one of the authors that I have referred to, one of the critics I have referred to, she describes Namesake as a touchstone text describing the complexity of second generation South Asian American experience, right? It's the basic text to learn, to live through the dilemmas, the problems, the failures, and successes of South Asian, or specifically Indian American second generation. So, quickly highlighting the criticisms that the novel has faced, one of the things that I came across is one of the critiques that I came across was that, this complete focus on affluent or privileged, fairly privileged, Ashok teachers in these big universities, and Oh, yeah. Ashok teaches in these big universities. Gogol attends Yale and Columbia. Moshmi from Princeton. So it's like these are these are affluent immigrants, right? Privileged immigrants who are able to achieve education and rise in the American society. So the focus is on affluent Hindu. We see Bengali Hindus. That's a religion. We see that in various ceremonies like the mourning, when they're mourning for Ashok, or the birth ceremony, the Annaprashan ceremony, or the feeding ceremonies of the children. It's in a Hindu family. Of course, the heterosexual Indian American experience, and this is one of the critiques. It is in critiques of the novel that it excludes ethnic, linguistic, and minority populations within the South Asian American communities. Feel that it presents a kind of a limiting stereotypical representation of women, as I mentioned at the end of chapter session on chapter 5 and 6. Is it stereotyping American women? And again, I would ask the same question: is it stereotyping Indian women? Uh, it objectifies the three main female characters, and by that I refer to Ruth, uh, Maxine, and also Moshami as materialistic consumers, right? Or they are the consumers uh, in a way, materialistic, victims of, and also victims of brown male oppression when it comes to somebody like Ashima, right? She is she has to give in to what the family wants. She has to give in to what the husband wants. She never really asks him to return. She cannot. So basically, her Ashima, the only Indian woman to be portrayed, apart from Moshmi, and we'll discuss Moshmi, but Ashima, the only Indian woman to be portrayed, is again as she can be read as a victim of oppression, patriarchy. I would also read her as a sub with some agency. She makes her life, despite her limiting circumstances. She makes her life. She makes her decisions. So, however limited it is, there is some agency. I also feel that although it might have been unfair to Moshami, discussing her as materialistic, marriage, but at the same time, I think Lahiri is quite sympathetic in her portrayal of Moshami, her need to assert her independence, her need to have an identity beyond marriage, right? And remember, it is a moment where, a very important moment where she has to give up this big scholarship, fellowship, just because she has marriage, and that is when she has an affair. So it is like, uh, yeah, so it is like, I think she's sympathetic to Moshami. But again, is it portraying American Indian or Bengali Indian structure as static, oppressive, that it oppressed Ashima and now it's ready to oppress Moshami, who can only get out by having an affair or rejecting the marriage? So I'm not very sure. Ruth and Maxine function as a representative of Western culture. They're intellectual and affluent. They bring in the international sophistication. But there is a detailed list of what Maxine tells in Gogol to eat, drink, buy, and this emphasizes their class difference. Like Maxine is like initiator or cultural usher. She's ushering, teaching Gogol how to uh, have highbrow, upper class taste now that he has his Ivy League education. She becomes a kind of means of gaining proximity to advantages of whiteness. So, this relationship exists, as I mentioned earlier, it exists in a world of racial and ethnic difference and privilege and marginalization of the immigrants that comes with it, other immigrants that comes with it. So, do we see that in a way it is reasserting those boundaries the characters might transgress? They might go cross the boundaries, but the boundaries are always there. And of course, as I said, as I've discussed, the white men, physical entities, physical attributes are important, maybe to emphasize their difference of fair skin, corporeal features. So basically, emphasizing their whiteness, but that whiteness, she does not really. Lahiri does not focus on how that whiteness is also provides access to that is missing in Gogol's life in his cultural background. So, in a way, the criticism is that Lahiri returns to stereotypical theme of bicultural incompatibility, that cross-cultural relationships are not compatible, the differences between Indian and American culture, and the story ends with Gogol returning to his roots, to his family, to his. It's like it shows. That's why I mentioned that it would have been interesting to see how Ben and Sonia navigate and how a successful cross cultural negotiation is possible. But as the way it shows that in in Gogol's relationships, it shows focuses more on the problems dealing with cross cultural negotiations. With that, we come to the end of the book. I hope you have enjoyed and you have learned more than enjoyed. I hope you have learned through these sessions. Do let me know if there is anything else that you would like to discuss in this book, in this, in this about this book, its themes, uh, anything, any book that you would like to do, like me to continue with this. Remember, I like to do post-colonial literature, so just remember, just so you can let me know if there is any specific text that you want me to cover. Do write to me. Let me know what you think of the novel, what you think are the themes, what is problematic to you in the novel. What do you like about the novel? So I would be really interested in knowing that. So do write in the comments, and you can help immensely by liking and subscribing. Thank you. See you sometime again with another session on another text.